more NFL, as we've done a lot today. If you missed any of the conversations, like Tim Legler, who just joined me on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline, check out our YouTube channel. We podcast all of our interviews. Of course, you can watch the full show live. You can watch the show now. If you missed the show or any parts, you can go back to our YouTube channel and watch the Sports Bash in its entirety, or all of our individual interviews, which are all up on the YouTube channel. Jeff Kerr's back from CBS Sports, covers the NFL, and he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. There's so much this time of the year. You always feel like, and of course these lists and these rankings and all this stuff comes out, and then the Eagles never stop. They've made a signing for the third day in a row. So let's kind of start there. LaRaven Clark, not a big time signing, but played for Sirianni, versatile offensive lineman, played swing tackle, played some guard, and I guess this puts Andre Dillard kind of on notice there, Jeff Kerr.
Well, we'll see what happens with LaRaven Clark. I mean, he was injured for most of last year, so it's hard to gauge how healthy this guy's going to be going into the year. It doesn't look like this was a signing where he's going to compete for a job or anything like that, at least right away. It seems like this was more of, let's take a flyer on this guy. I'm familiar with him. Competition is always good. This is going to be a depth move. I really don't think Andre Dillard has to worry about his job, at least not in training camp.
Well, I don't know if he's worried. Maybe I said it, not worried about his job, but gives them a little bit more ability to take a phone call or make a phone call. Hey, you interested in Dillard? Because now we have a guy that might not be ready for the start of the season, but we think, Sirianni knows him, knows his offense, so maybe he doesn't have to do as much in training camp. It gives him a little bit less reason to not listen for Dillard, no?
Is Andre Dillard on notice, though, or is it a guy like Matt Pryor? Would he be a guy that's listed a little bit?
Yeah, but nobody wants Matt Pryor. I'm talking about if somebody wants to trade.
I mean, I thought no one wanted Dennis Kelly either, and then somehow the Eagles were able to trade him. I mean, they didn't get anything for him if you want to look at Dorial Green Beckham, but they were able to trade him, and Dennis Kelly ended up becoming a fine starter in this league. But, back to your initial point, it may be something like, hey, we have this former first-round pick who's very valuable. We really don't know what we have in him yet. Maybe you could take the chance on him if you want. I always thought maybe Andre Dillard would be a fit in Kansas City before they ended up getting Orlando Brown. But I don't think Kansas City wanted to fix their offensive line by taking the chance on Andre Dillard. I think they wanted to take a chance on one of the best tackles in football, and that's what they were able to do there. So it'd be very interesting to see where someone like Andre Dillard could go, because now Kansas City's out, Indianapolis is out. Maybe the Los Angeles Chargers would be interested. Maybe a team like the Los Angeles Rams would take a chance on an Andre Dillard because of Andrew Whitworth and because he's going to be 39 years old. So we're going to have to look at that, but I really don't think Dillard has to worry about anything yet. Maybe Isaac Seumalo. I don't think that's the case here, but you just don't know, especially with Landon Dickerson. He could start week 1 if he's healthy.
Yeah, no, Dillard, to me, is the guy only because he might have value. That's all. He was a first-round pick who doesn't have a lot of tape, so somebody might say, hey, he was a first-round pick. We scouted him in the 19 draft. We'll take a flyer on him. Now, what can you get? I don't know, because do you agree or disagree, Jeff Kerr, that Jordan Mailata right now is probably ahead of him if they have a battle at left tackle?
Right now, yeah, because we have game tape on Jordan Mailata, and Jordan Mailata played well last year. I don't think he was great, like Jason Peters great, but he wasn't terrible like I'm trying to think of a name left out. Eric Flowers. He wasn't Eric Flowers' terrible year last year. He was average to above average. And honestly, for a 23-year-old who barely has played football, that's more than what you can ask for. I didn't think it was going to be a disaster by any means, but I was skeptical with Jordan Mailata playing left tackle right away, just being thrown to the fire, and he held his own, and he's just going to get better year in and year out with Jeff Stoutland. So right now, I would say Jordan Mailata is the guy at left tackle to protect Jalen Hurts' blindside. And, this is a diamond in the rough pick for the Eagles. Yeah,
as Jeff Kerr, at Jeff Kerr on Jeff Kerr CBS on Twitter tweeted out about an hour ago, most pressures allowed in the 2020 season. The Eagles led the league in pressures by far. 271. So they are stockpiling competition on the offensive line in as many areas as they can.
Yeah, and here's the thing with that statistic, Mike, as most Eagles fans would know. Lane Johnson wasn't playing last year. Brandon Brooks was out. Jason Kelce was healthy, he had one of his best years ever at center. And because the Eagles' offensive line was so bad, he didn't make an all-pro team, which is a disgrace, really, if you look at the actual numbers. Isaac Seumalo had a good year. Jordan Mailata was solid last year. But Jason Pierce was terrible. And again, that's why the Eagles allowed so many pressures. They had like 14 different offensive line combinations in 16 games. You're just not going to have that continuity like that. Remember in 2000, the Eagles started all 5 offensive linemen, all 16 games. That's pretty impressive. It's very rare that happens. I think the Los Angeles Rams did it once or twice since then, but I got to be honest with you, Mike. Competition is going to be good. Landon Dickerson here is going to be good for Isaac Seumalo, for Jason Kelce, whether he's a heir apparent or not. Jordan Mailata, Andre Dillard, Matt Pryor competing for a backup job. There are so many jobs on this offensive line, and LaRaven Clark is one of them.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. I want to get your opinion on this. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, okay? How does the new coaching staff view him entering camp this year? Is he, hey, second-round pick, he's got to make the team? Or, hey, second-round pick who's done squadaddle, you've got to beat out John Hightower, Quez Watkins, Trayvon Grimes. How do you think – because the guy who drafted him's still here, but this is a new regime. So are they looking at him as second-round pick, I got to keep you, or second-round pick, you need to prove it to me?
Well, I think you got to prove it to him. Right there, Mike. He's got to beat out Greg Ward, Quez Watkins, John Hightower, Trayvon Grimes. He's got to beat these guys out because that's the situation he put himself in. He has one touchdown over his 2-year career. I mean, there are receivers who've had more receiving yards in a game than he's had his entire career. That's not good for a second-round pick, and he hasn't shown anything. And, in the 2019 preseason, he looked like he was going to be a solid contributor to this team. If not, the next, I don't want to say like an Alshon Jeffrey type, but, it wasn't far-fetched to think this guy could have 50 catches for about 700 yards and, 5 touchdowns in a season. That would, you're lucky if you get anything out of him. So, no, he's competing for his job. John Hightower showed a lot of promise last year before the Eagles decided to ditch him for some reason. Quez Watkins, same thing. He had a really good finish of the year last year. Him and Jalen Hurts have a good rapport. So, yeah, I'm looking for him to compete. And, if he makes the team, great. If not, no big loss. I mean, it's a second-round pick that just didn't work out. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Hopefully he can turn his career around.
All right, yeah, let me ask you. This is the big conversation, that Howie Roseman kind of alluded to. Hey, we're excited to get our new staff, to get our hands on some of these guys. So, he's insinuating, did Doug Peterson do a good job developing younger players, or did Howie Roseman draft poor players?
It might be a combination of both. I mean, the 2016 draft, Carson Wentz developed fine, and then he got hurt. I think Isaac Seumalo developed more than fine. Jalen Mills, look what he did. He was a 7th-round pick. But Frank Reich was there. Jim Schwartz was there. There were a lot of guys that developed. Jeff Stoutland developed a lot of offensive linemen. I mean, Matt Pryor, for what people think he is, he was a 6th-round pick who, panned out and has a solid NFL career going. He's going to his 4th year in the league. You don't expect that out of a 6th-round offensive lineman. Look with Jordan Mailata. I just don't think the Eagles had enough draft picks from 2018 and 2019 to actually do anything. They had 10 combined picks. In 2020, we really don't know what this draft class is made of. Jalen Reagor's still raw. Jalen Hurts, we're going to find out this year. A lot of guys like that. The 2019 class, Miles Sanders has been great. For how rarely the Eagles use him, he's been great. Had a bad year receiving last year, but still was a dynamic home run threat at running back. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, we just don't know. You're going to have hits. You're going to have misses. I just think Doug had a problem developing younger talent overall, but I don't think it was the end-all, be-all either. I think it was a combination of Doug and Howie, but I think what the Eagles really wanted to do was get a coaching staff in here that could develop these kids, and that's why I think Nick Sirianni and these guys are here.
Yeah, I think that will be a very interesting storyline to see. Hey, does all of a sudden Reagor become more productive? Does J.J. Arcega-Whiteside become part of the offense? Does this new staff get something out of him that the old staff could not? I feel like that will be a huge storyline here for this year because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of competition in that wide receiver room. Another spot there's a lot of competition, same kind of conversation, Jeff, is Davion Taylor, linebacker, 3rd-round pick last year. They got nothing from him. A lot of, I don't want to say, it's not like this great linebacker room, but there's a lot of interesting dynamics in there. You got Singleton, you've got Wilson, who they brought in here. Then they've got Davion Taylor, a third-round pick. But then you got T.J. Edwards, who started last year. You've got Jannard Avery, who they traded for. They've got Kerrigan, who could play some stand-up stuff. They're moving
I think he's going to play DN, though, for Ryan Kerrigan.
All right, you got Osman, who they're moving to the linebacker role. So is Davion Taylor a definitive making the team?
I think it's too early to give up on third-round pick yet. I know
Sean Bradley, too, by the way. I forgot him.
Oh, sorry, who was it?
Sean Bradley, who they drafted.
Oh, yeah, Sean Bradley. Yeah, that's right, Sean Bradley. But Sean Bradley was pretty good on special teams. So, honestly, if you can provide some value on special teams no matter what round you're in, you're going to make a football team. And if Davion Taylor can do that, then, yeah, he'll make the Eagles. But, from what we heard about Davion Taylor, he was really raw. Well, it seems like the Eagles took a chance on him at I think it was the 99th overall pick. I think that's what he was in the third round that year. Just too big of a risk. And, I thought with the Eagles linebacker situation, he would come in and, maybe contribute after 4 or 5 games just based on everything that happened. But you know what? You had a guy like Alex Singleton who basically leapfrogged him on the depth chart. T.J. Edwards was the same way. And they just never gave it up. And, Davion Taylor, to me, he's got to prove he can play on the outside. He doesn't really have any pass rushing skills, so I don't think he's going to provide value there. He's going to have to provide value in coverage on special teams. And if he can seize that number 3 linebacker role, I think it's going to be huge for the Eagles going forward. But again, it just looks like another pick that just did not do anything his rookie year or barely contributed. And you really don't know what you have. It feels like a Byron Smith, Curtis Marsh type pick.
Yeah, a kind of a stinker. And now you have a whole new defense, too. You draft Davion Taylor. I don't know that Jim Schwartz was all that thrilled about it, to be honest with you, but he was drafted for that defensive scheme. Now you have a new defensive scheme. I think that's interesting because we were talking earlier in the show. I don't know where there's a lot of competition for starting roles on this team. I think there's a lot of competition for roster spots, but I think the 22 starting spots, well, I got about 20 of them filled.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, what 2 do you have open right now?
Left tackle, I guess, is somewhat of a position, and the other corner.
Yeah, you're right. And, everything else, it just seems like I don't want to say they're filled because there's going to be competition, but it looks like there's going to be more. I think the Eagles are trying to build a deeper football team in case guys get hurt. Like, we know who's starting, Anthony Harris and Rodney McLeod at safety. Who's going to be the third? Marcus Epps? I mean, that's what it looks like right now, and nothing wrong with that. Marcus Epps had a good year last year.
You hope Kayvon Wallace.
Yeah, exactly. You hope it's Kayvon Wallace, but again, no disrespect to the guy, it seems like he does more talking on Twitter than he does on the field at this point. But again, it's only been 1 year. He's only a 4th-round rookie. I'm not expecting much.
I mean, I guess the other spot would be the nickel corner. I mean, who's going to be that third corner that plays in the slot? Is it Josiah Scott? Is it Avonte Maddox? Is it one of the other merry men?
Do they move Max to the outside? Do they move him at safety like Schwartz did? There's going to be a lot of questions to be answered in that secondary. So, yeah, it seems like there are jobs to be had.
Definitely.
But there's also roles to be filled. And the same way on the defensive line. Where's Ryan Kerrigan going to fit? Is he going to start? Probably not. Derek Barnett's going to start. But how many snaps is he going to take away from Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat? How are they going to fit him in the rotation? Same thing at defensive tackle. Okay, you got Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. Who's going to take that 3? Is it going to be Hassan Ridgeway? Is it going to be Milton Williams? Again, there's depth there, and I think that's what the Eagles tried to build. It's a rebuild, but they're trying to become a deeper football team, which ultimately I think was their biggest problem last year. They were not deep at a lot of positions.
That's a good point. The depth is what they're realizing, and the word competition has kept coming up and keeps coming up. And how do you get competition? You put more depth on the team. They did it today by signing another offensive lineman. They did it yesterday by bringing in. Look, Jamison Houston wasn't getting on the field on this team. Josiah Scott has a shot to get on the field. So they gave away a 6th-round draft pick to try to get a player that can add competition to the team. All right, Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, at Jeff Kerr CBS on Twitter. This offseason continues to be an interesting one for Philadelphia as they continue to try to retool this team inside the NFC East. We'll continue our look at the NFL throughout the offseason. And before you know it, man, we're going to be having training camp. We got all the mandatories on the way, and we'll be covering it here with Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports here on the Sports Bash. All right, Jeff, we'll talk to you, man.
Yeah, sounds great, Mike. By the way, I got a piece coming out on the NFC West Friday, 4 burning questions for the NFC West, and let me tell you, that division's loaded.
It is. 4 great teams. By the way, all 4 of those teams can make an argument to win that division, no?
Absolutely. I honestly think that the Cardinals are 8-8. I think they're good enough to win 10, 11 games. I mean, it's going to be a wide open division. It's going to be a lot of fun covering those games this year.
Check that out. Jeff Kerr, CBS on Twitter for all of his NFL offseason coverage. All right, Jeff. Thanks, man.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right. He, like August, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.